Hi guys, welcome to Gratitude Tuesday. My name's Raina and I'm your recovery coach here at Capital Recovery Center. So today we're going to be going through this book, well, the beginning of it anyway. It's called Choose You. It's a self-care journal. There we go. So Choose You, a self-care journal. We have these here at the center. So if you would like to come in and take part in our Gratitude Tuesday, receive one of these, you can sit down, and it's something that you can do here with us if you want to, or something you can take home and do on your own as well, just to kind of get you in the mindset of what self-care is and how self-care can benefit you in long-term recovery. So this is a book by Sarah Robinson, Choose You, a guided self-care journal made just for you. So we're going to go to the introduction here. So finding time that's just for you can seem tough, but you've decided to put yourself first. Congratulations for deciding to choose you. Choosing you is a very, very important thing when it comes to recovery. Now that you've made this choice, you may find yourself wondering what to do next. Well, when it comes right down to it, the goal is to add more self-care into your life in any way that you can. And self-care doesn't have to be just getting a mani-pedi or scheduling a spa day. Self-care can be whatever you want it to be. And this journal will help you figure out what works for your body, mind, spirit, and why it works. So I like that they put that, like self-care is not about just about like getting your nails done or, shopping, and those things are great and they do make us feel better, especially as women. It always makes you feel a little better to dress up the outside, but self-care is about the inside. And that's something that we want to focus on, especially in recovery, because, we get clean and, we feel this void and we want to fill it up with things. So, adding self-care to our routine and to our recovery can help fill that void within. Here you'll find more than 80 journal entries that are full of feel-good self-care activity, words of encouragement that help you keep going, and quotes to help you stay inspired. You'll also find space to track your self-care activities as you figure out what routines work best for you. Finding the right self-care activities can be a bit of a trial and error, so feel free to try new things and have fun. Your choices are nearly unlimited, so if you try something you don't like, just note that you don't want to try it again in the today's takeaway section. Or if you find something you love, write that down too. You want to be able to remember exactly what you did and how it made you feel so you can do it again. And that's beautiful because that's how we create a habit. That's how we put something into our normal routine so that we can practice it on a daily basis to help us start the day off well, help us end the day well, anything that will, make things just that much easier for us. And I like how it talks about, like the trial and error. Being clean is a new world for us. And, it's a lot about figuring out what works and what doesn't because everything's new. It's scary, it's uncomfortable. And a journal like this can definitely help you focus in on the things that make it better for you and the things that, make it harder. You want to learn what to eliminate and what to keep. So it goes on and says, if you want to know more about self-care and how to make it easy, the following sections gives you the basics of what you need to know, including how to find the time for self-care and the 6 key types of self-care that you might want to try. Now is the time to choose you, so go ahead and make self-care a reality and have fun. So we're going to talk about all about self-care. If you're going to start adding more self-care into your life, it's important that you take a few minutes to learn a little more about this practice in general. After all, if you're going to benefit, you need to know what you're doing or not doing in order to get the most out of the time you'll be putting in. Very true. You want to educate yourself. You want to know what it is that you're dealing with and how to deal with it. So what is self-care? How will it benefit you? How can you fit self-care into your busy schedule? You'll learn all this and more in this section, so let's get started. So we're going to start out by talking about what is self-care. Self-care at its core is simple. which is important because there are enough things in life that are complicated. It is acknowledging that you matter, that your well-being, mood, energy, and thoughts are priorities and not afterthoughts. It is taking care of yourself, body, mind, and spirit, and doing things that help you feel good. Actually, better than good. Self-care should help you feel great. This says so much in one little paragraph, right? So it's about making things simple, because as addicts, we have a tendency to overcomplicate simple things. So that's where you want to focus. This is not supposed to be something that's hard or is going to give you stress. This should be very simple and about finding yourself. And then he's talking about, acknowledging that you matter. Like, because you do. We spend so much time or years and telling ourselves that we're not good enough, or we'll never be enough. And then it just coming down on ourselves in general. And it's good to know, you have to acknowledge that, yes, you do matter. And it talks about, your well-being, your mood, your energy. All these things need to be priorities. Because if your mood is not where it's supposed to be, if your well-being is not where it's supposed to be, in a positive place, it's going to make it very difficult for you to sustain recovery or be a positive, aspect in your life and other people's lives, society, all of these things. So think back to a time when you felt great. During that time, what were you doing to take care of yourself? How often did you put yourself first? So this is kind of ironic. So my daughter and I were having a conversation this morning, and she's been going through some things with her daughter's father, and she said to me that this year it's about being a woman. She's like, it's not about whose mom I am. It's not about whose girlfriend I am. It's not about who's babysitter or employee or, and all these different things. She's like, I want to make it about who I am. And I thought that was just so profound. You know what I mean? It was very inspiring to hear her say that on so many levels. I mean, it makes me happy that she's taking the time and realizing that self-care is important. As a mom, it makes me proud of her. As a woman, it makes me proud of her. And it was this little boost of inspiration this morning. And that's really what we need to do. And I told her, I said, that was the mistake that I had made. I spent so much time being someone's mom and someone's wife and someone's employee and all these other things to everyone else that I never took the time to find myself or to do self-care or, find out who Raina was. And I ended up losing myself along the way. So I think that's really important that, putting yourself first. And when I say put yourself first, I don't mean that in a selfish way, because as addicts, we can, have a tendency to be very selfish as well and self-centered. I mean that as in, make sure that your mind, body, and spirit are where they need to be in a positive place, because that's where everything else is going to come from. So it was on to say, chances are that you are engaging in self-care and you might not have even realized it. You likely had activities and routines that were important to you and helped you feel your best. Choosing you was a consistent choice. Life can always be like that. You just have to prioritize yourself, even or especially when life is busy, stressful, or mundane. That is extremely important, because a lot of times when life starts to get busy and stressful, it's very easy to lose ourselves. And those are the times that we're probably not noticing that we're losing ourselves, but it's more important to maintain that self-care. So when things calm down, we're not just still spinning. So what can we do to practice self-care? Well, self-care comes in many different shapes and sizes. It's not a one-size-fits-all. As you'll see as you work through the different activities suggested in the Feel Good Ideas section of the journal, what is considered self-care is unique to you. What this means is that it's important to find self-care activities that meet your needs and fit your available time. Maybe your friend thinks of spa days, alone time, or yoga as self-care. While these activities are self-care, they may not be your self-care. As you figure out what works for you, just keep in mind that almost anything can be a form of self-care if it's done with mindfulness and intention. So that's really nice. Like, there is no wrong or right way to practice self-care, as long as it's something that is a positive aspect. We for so long, use drugs or other toxic things to suppress all these emotions and everything that's going on in our life, to not have to deal. And it's like very important to find positive things that help you deal and encourage you to move forward and deal with things in life, because life is going to show up regardless. That's just a matter of fact. So it's important to make sure that we have like this place that we can go to decompress, to, just relax and find something that makes us happy. Be hobbies or, just about anything. And it says, spa day, alone time, yoga as self-care. Like, I have friends who like yoga is their thing and it's like their way. That doesn't work for me. Alone time is something that I have recently started to enjoy, because when I first got clean, the concept of being alone was terrifying. I needed to be constantly around someone or, engaged in doing something, because I was afraid of being alone, that I would, be my own worst enemy. But now I have found that, a little bit of alone time is a really nice way to just kind of breathe, relax, wipe away the stress of the day. So it's something that, and over time, your self-care can change. So like I said in the beginning, my self-care was being surrounded by other people who were supportive of me to help me stay clean. I still do that, but now I have learned how to, use other things as self-care, as in having a little alone time when I get home from work or at the end of the day. So we're going to talk about the 6 types of self-care. While the self-care activities you choose to do are completely up to you, there are 6 types of self-care that you must focus on to fulfill your different fundamental needs. And when you engage in self-care activities that address these various needs, you can create a stronger sense of well-being, have more positive thoughts and feelings, and be more present in your everyday life. As you read about these different types of self-care, think about which areas feel like ones that you want to devote time and energy to. So the first one here is emotional self-care. It says, emotional self-care includes taking time for your emotions or doing pleasurable activities such as talking with a friend, watching a funny movie, dancing, or going to therapy. You need to take care of your emotions so you can experience positive feelings more often and more strongly than negative ones, and so you're prepared to handle the emotional challenges that life throws at you. This is so important. When we first get clean, there are so many emotions and feelings and things that come up that have spent years being pushed down. And like me, I had no idea what to do with it. So, I had to find ways to express it in a positive manner, to look at it, to process it without causing harm to myself, or anyone else. Because, we tend to use anger and fear and, sadness and all these like negative emotions because we don't know how to deal with it all. And it talks about, talking with a friend. And like I said, like I belong to a 12-step fellowship, and having the people in that fellowship to talk to who can relate to me has been so impactful and so helpful in my life. Watching a movie, funny movie, scary movie, whatever you prefer. And then going to therapy. You know what I mean? Like I started to do therapy and, first in a group setting and then a one-on-one to like help me express and process things. And, all of that has been so like detrimental to my recovery. I would recommend like all of those things. Because we tend to let emotions be the driving force behind everything that we do. And we have to learn how to process them and make sure that they go in the right direction instead of pushing us backwards, pushing people away. So focusing on that emotional self-care is so, so important. Next part we're going to talk about is mental self-care. Mental self-care is doing something mentally stimulating, such as playing a game, doing a puzzle, or doing something that allows you to take care of your mental state, like using affirmations or practicing kindness to yourself. Mentally, you need to keep your mind stimulated, engaged, and in a positive place so you can handle your day-to-day tasks with ease, confidence, and less mental stress. So for me, this is kind of like, okay, let me take my brain away from what's going on right in front of me and let it kind of relax over here. I do this, I play Candy Crush. It's mindless. I don't have to think about it. It's just something where my brain can just be like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? And it talks about doing puzzles, things that like stimulate. So like I like to play, like again, on my phone, I'll play like the crosswords. Something that stimulates my mind, but isn't causing me stress. So this could be hobbies, anything that's going to get you engaged is very important. And it helps to, you might discover things that you enjoy that you never thought you would enjoy. So next one is physical self-care. Physical self-care is taking care of your body and might include activities like exercise, eating well, stretching, or yoga. When you take care of yourself physically, you ensure that you stay healthy and have the energy to complete your daily tasks. This is one that I do not do very well, but it's very important. There are things that I do to help with self-care physically. So I have an autoimmune disorder, and I make sure that I see my doctor on a regular basis, that I take my medication as prescribed, and I do things that minimize the effects of that. But I don't always eat so well. I don't exercise like I should. I don't, physically, engage in stuff like that like I used to. And I think that can be very important because, like me, when I got clean, your body's like, oh, feed me. And now it's like, okay, let's figure out how to get back to a healthy state. Because when you feel physically better, you feel mentally better, you feel emotionally better. So, and being physically active, can stimulate all the positive energy in you, whether it's, like if you like to go to the gym, if you like to do the yoga, any of these things to help you, stimulate all the positivity. The next one is practical self-care. Practical self-care is typically about what you need to do in a more logistical sense, such as decluttering, tackling something on your to-do list, or making doctor's appointments. When you complete these daily self-care activities and tasks that are more practical in nature, you may feel calmer, in control, satisfied, and accomplishment. So when I read this, my first thought was adulting is kind of what this like says to me. And I realize that sometimes I have to do the simplest thing, which could just be like making a doctor's appointment. And I will make my notes, my little to-do list, and I will look at it every day. And it seems like this impossible thing to pick up the phone and make this appointment when it's really the simplest thing. So, these, like, we don't realize sometimes the things that overwhelm us until we go to do them. So making a to-do list helps, because I know for me, when I have it written out in front of me, it makes things a lot more accessible. It makes it, real, because if I leave it up here, I'm going to forget about it. So a to-do list is very important. And eventually, when you have that list in front of you, it's like, oh, I need to complete that last thing. I need to complete that last thing. Like right now, my last thing is a dentist appointment. I keep putting it off because, everybody loves to go to the dentist. But it will happen. And it's okay if you struggle with things like that. Just take your time, and eventually things start to become a habit. And decluttering, I think this is a wonderful thing, because I am one of those people that is very big on environment. And I know for me, if I can't relax in a messy room, I can't, enjoy a meal with stuff all over my dining room table. And there's a toddler in my house. So this is not an easy thing to achieve. Hence the reason that sometimes I need some alone time. Because I can go into my room and that's my safe space. That is where everything is, how I want it, what makes me comfortable. Because having that kind of environment, especially like a decluttered one, you don't realize how, when things start to build up, it's a reflection of kind of what's going on in your life. And you think about it. I know for me, like when I start to have shoes all over the floor and I haven't put my laundry away for 2 days and these different things, it's because my life, outside of my little space is kind of going. So it's an indication to me like, okay, I need to stop. I need to breathe. I need to put away my clothes. I need to put my shoes away. And then it's just like, oh, okay, I can relax now. So I think that's very important to make, like, surround yourself with things that put you in a positive place. So the next one is social self-care. Social self-care uses friends and other people to help you maintain relationships, feel connected to others, and take care of yourself. This includes engaging in activities that include others and allow you to be social, like a night out with friends, a date night, or talking on the phone. When you have these needs met, you'll likely feel happier, more secure, and loved. This is so important in recovery. Find your people, find, one person, two, however many. If you're someone who likes to be around a big crowd of people, there are so many things that you can do in recovery. There are things you can come here and do. If you're involved with the 12-step fellowship, there are activities and other things that you can do through that. There's just so much out there. I think a lot of times when we get clean, we don't realize that we can have fun. And it's very important to know that, you don't need that drink or drug to go out and have a good time. I was amazed at some of the things that, I enjoy doing and have fun doing clean. And probably I have more fun doing clean. And it's good because it gives you connection, and having connection in recovery is so important. There's a saying that says an addict alone is in, bad company. When you're alone all the time, you're alone with your thoughts. You don't have anyone to express them to. You don't have anybody for moral support. It's really important to have somebody or several somebodies that you can call and say, hey, you can come pick me up. Can we go grab coffee? Can we get something to eat? You know what I mean? And, having people around you that you can be like, hey, let's go bowling. Let's do this. Like, you know what I mean? Just anything to get you out and having a good time. And I try and do these things with my family. I try and do these things in relationships. You know what I mean? Because there's different aspects to recovery. We get clean and now there's like all these different dynamics to our life. So, you know what I mean? Like we do things together here at work. I make special time set aside to do things with my family and the kids. I make time to do things with my nephew or, other children in my life. I make time to do things with my parents. I'm planning a trip with my mom for Mother's Day to go see my sister. Like all these things that we could not do. And now that we can, make the most of it, because that's what's really important. Like for me, what's really important is enjoying the life that I have today. Because for a very, very long time, I did not enjoy my life. And the people around me didn't enjoy what was going on. And now I have the benefit and the blessing of being able to do things with them and making the most of the time that I have. So it's very important, social self-care. And you know what I mean? You don't have to be a social butterfly. You don't have to talk to everybody. You know what I mean? And it's okay to do things on your own as well. So don't misunderstand that you should like always have somebody around. If you're okay, like, so I know some people that can go out to eat all by themselves. I think that's important too. But having a network and having a support system and people that you can turn to and do things in life with is very, very important. So the last part of this is spiritual self-care. Spiritual self-care will depend on your spiritual beliefs, but might include meditation, going to church, or praying. When you practice spiritual self-care, you feel more connected to a higher power and therefore more grounded and secure. This is something that prior to being clean, I did not have in my life at all. And I've learned over the course of the years, what works best for me. So about having something outside of me that I can turn to. Whether you call it God, whether you call it a higher power, Allah, whatever your belief system is, having something outside of yourself that you can turn to it's an amazing, thing to let go and realize, okay, I'm not alone out there. I don't have to be in control of everything, and it fills you up with like this positivity and this gratitude inside. And that's what's important. That's what we're basically like. When I read, we went through all of these different types of self-care. None of them were about the outside. Maybe the physical a little bit, but it's still the physical affects the inside. And that spiritual, fulfillment is very important. So as you go through the journal, you'll find many activities to try that meet these various needs. Or you can find another activity that works better for you. On each journal page, there's a spot for you to keep track of what type of self-care you decided to do. So just mark it off and see what type fits best into your life. And keep in mind that one activity can check off more than one of these types of self-care. So it's true. So when you're talking about different things and the different types of self-care, like it mentioned yoga a couple times, as far as the physical, as far as the mental, it can also help with the spiritual. So some of these things you're fulfilling more than what you realize you're fulfilling. So we're going to talk about how to find time for self-care. You're busy. Yeah. We get clean, we get lives, we get busy. But you do have time for self-care. One way you can find more time to choose you is to redefine what you consider to be self-care. Yes, spa days and weekends away are fantastic, but sometimes self-care is just taking 5 minutes in a quiet space to sit, breathe, and clear your mind. It's exactly what I was saying. Sometimes when I get home, go sit in my room, take a deep breath, kind of like wash away the day, and move on. Setting the right intention can turn a seemingly basic task into an important part of your routine. For example, maybe you have a morning cup of coffee that you drink quickly as you're rushing to get out of the house. If you make a small change and decide to get up 10 minutes earlier to enjoy your coffee at a slower pace, and maybe with a book, this is now self-care. I know a lot of people that do this. They get up, they have their coffee, they relax, they kind of like get their mind set for the day, and then go. You're meeting your mental and emotional needs with this new morning routine. and maybe your physical needs too, because that caffeine will help get you going. Self-care also becomes easier when you make time for it in your schedule. Yes, plans change, but if you make time for self-care activities that are important to you, by scheduling them into your day and week, you give yourself a much better chance of following through. Look ahead at your week and find the places where you can plan time for yourself. It's also helpful to have a few quick activities that you can regularly do at the start or end of your day, such as sitting in silence for a few minutes, breathing deeply, listening to a song to feed your soul, or focusing on what you're grateful for. This way you get in at least a bit of self-care every day, no matter what else is going on. And sometimes these things you're probably already doing and don't even realize it. And, just taking a moment to be mindful of it, which is what this journal will help you do, is important. Like for me, my drive home and my drive to work is very meditative and very important to me, starting my day and ending my work day. So I turn on the music I love, I turn it up, I sing, I get myself going on the way home. I do the same thing. And sometimes it's more like, okay, let's relax. It just, whatever the mood strikes, it's just one of those things that I do on a daily basis now that I have realized, okay, this is self-care. This is me taking the time to clear my head, start my day, end my day. Keep in mind that money should not be a barrier to self-care. You don't need to take the time to save up money in order to choose you. The focus is on taking care of yourself, and what you do does not have to be fancy or expensive. You can make self-care happen now, no matter what. I love that they talked about this, because I think sometimes people will think about self-care as like vacations or the spa days or pedicures or like all these things that cost money, when in reality, self-care is free. It's just about finding what works for you. So then we're going to say, get ready to choose you. So now that you know how to choose you, it's time to give self-care a try. On each page in the journal, you'll find questions to answer about your day and your experience with the self-care activity you chose. You'll also reflect on how you were feeling before, during, and after your self-care, and you'll make note of what you enjoyed or did, what type of self-care you did, and how it helped you. You'll even find a spot to add any and all notes that you want to remember about the self-care activity. And make your journal even more awesome by making sure each entry is all about you. Remember that the journal prompts stay the same throughout the book, but don't forget to pay special attention to the extra information included. You'll find either a feel-good activity to try, an encouraging note that will help keep things going in the right direction, or an inspiring quote that will help keep you motivated. You may want to read through the prompts on each page all in one sitting, and then read them again one at a time when you start a new journal page. I like the little quotes and stuff. I know that social media, Facebook, like a lot of people are always like posting the little, inspirational quotes and things. And they can be nice. They can put you in like a positive place. So it's nice that they include things like this in here as well. The feel-good activities included on the journal pages are meant to inspire you. You might want to do the activity as described. You may feel an adjustment is necessary, or you might decide that the activity is not for you. Some of the suggested activities will require planning, like a night out with friends. Even if it takes months to get this on the calendar, take the time to do it. Lastly, don't be too hard on yourself as you practice self-care. Do your best to make yourself a priority, but don't feel guilty if you miss a day. And don't feel guilty for doing it in general. It's important. The more you practice, the more you'll experience self-care's benefits. And as you use your journal to figure out what types of self-care work best for you and make you feel your best, chances are that you'll get even better at creating more time for them in your life. And remember to always choose you. You're worth it. That's absolutely true. Each and every one of us is worth it. So I just want to give you an example of what's in here. So it says today's self-care activity, and it has some spaces to write something down. Today's takeaway, whether you want to make it a regular activity, whether it's for special occasions, if you want to try it on a different day, or if it's not for you. And then it asks, how do you feel before, calm, cheerful, in control, stress, different things. It asks during, how does it make you feel? and then after how it makes you feel. And then it has like some space to write in, different things. And this was just what I needed because, and it has some space for you to write. And then for notes. And there's a section that says, today I choose this type of self-care. So again, emotional, mental, physical, practical, social, and spiritual. It can be one, it can be several. And then it has feel-good ideas. Keep it going, just different little things to keep you motivated throughout. So I think this is such a great thing to help you on the journey of self-care, help you to finding that positivity in your life, to feeling better, to having a more positive outlook in recovery, to help sustain recovery, because it is extremely important to have self-care and recovery. So this is such an awesome little journal to help along the way. I kind of wish I had this like early on, but it's a great thing because, regardless, sometimes I struggle with the self-care. So if you would like to come in, do one of these journals with us, take it home with you, go over it, talk about it, whatever help we can offer you, we are more than willing, and we would love to have you join us. And in the meantime, I will see you next Tuesday. Thanks for joining.